Yakety yak, it's time to get jacked. What's cracking, guys? Omar Isov here, back with another video. Midnight Crew here at Fortissimo. This is your favorite D YouTube celery. Here today to talk about the overhead press. So recently I hit 230 pounds. I'm going to hit 235 pounds. I released that video, big tips on the overhead press, which I'll link down below. And it got a lot of great feedback. But the big issue for most people still is how to get a strong start position. So let's get underneath this barbell right here. Let's give the quick tip. Basically, here's what happens. Because the overhead press starts from a dead stop, just like the deadlift, you really need to accelerate fast from the dead stop. Now, the problem is if you don't have the setup right, if you're not stacked, so people, when they say stacked, what does that mean? They mean the lats. We're gonna explain why we want the lats, the core brace, thoracic extension, so we have a little bit of the upper chest like so, and we actually have the tricep touching the lat right here. So there's a lot of things going on, wrist in alignment with elbow, a lot of subtle things, right? But I gave all those tips, and for some people they're still struggling, and I think the biggest hack or biggest tip I can give for the overhead press is a strong start means a strong finish. If you're not stacked properly, the lift is done before you even begin. So how do we get a strong start? Well, here's a simple heuristic, a dirty fast rule. And here's what we want to do. We get in our position, so for me, we're gonna chest up, externally rotate, come underneath, get it tight, so it's just above the clavicle like so. We're resting, elbows in alignment, everything feels great. From here, we should be so tight that if we pull down, so the bar down, we pull down on the bar, we should still feel tight. If you do this wrong, your setup, what will happen probably, you're a little too far in front, and when you pull down, you immediately feel weaker. And so the simple rule is the following. Before you overhead press, if you want to check your setup, pull down on the barbell. If it still feels pretty good, you feel tight, then you're good to go. And then we can talk about bar path. That might be what's limiting you. But for a lot of people, what basically happens, they'll get underneath like so, they're thinking like let's get hyped up, and maybe it's just they don't have that kinesthetic sense, the awareness of their body where it is, and it's in front of them like this. Well, if the bar's in front of you, think of center mass, it's pulling you forward, and you don't want that. You actually want to have it hugged tight and close like so. And what we do from here, we, in a small way, we press forward, and this happens naturally, and then back. For some people, when they try and get stacked, for whatever reason, they hear the cue, like elbows in alignment with wrist or whatever, and when they come out, the bar's in front of them. So you actually want the barbell basically resting right here, in alignment with your body. So let's talk about a few of the cues in order to make sure that we're tight. Just to review them quickly before we talk about, once again, this key tip. The stack tip of pulling down before you press up. Cool. So here's what we want. Obviously, we're flexing the core, we're squeezing the glutes, quads, so everything down here is tight. So one solid base, think of ourselves like a pillar. And for a lot of people, what they forget the back. Here, we're actually pulling it down and back, so we're creating kind of a shelf. So here, we're pressing up like this, so we're not arching back like this, we're not pressing like an incline, and that might naturally tend to occur as the weight gets heavy, because your body's just trying to do whatever it can to lift the weight, right? But what we want to do, this is a pillar here, we bring it back like so, and so lats now, if we see my lats right here, the lat, it's in the pocket that when I have here, here's the hot tip for those that got the lats, tricep touches the lat, and this right here feels tight in a good way, right? So the barbell, when the barbell is like this, so it's over right here near the clavicle, it feels sturdy, it feels comfortable, I feel like I'm in a strong position. And we talk about that often, right? Because the difference, this could be a 20, 30 pound difference in your overhead press if you do this right. Between here, so we have it in front of you, and having it here tight. And remember, it's not just about starting tight, it's when you press. Yes, you have to press a little bit in front of you, but if you press too far away, here, this is an impossible position to recover, right? We're all the way back there. So, let's review. The quick tip for today, if you really want to make sure your overhead press is solid, I think the start is everything. It's kind of like the deadlift. If you're in a poor position and you begin pulling, and you kind of get that scaredy cat where your back immediately folds up, that's probably because you weren't tight in the setup. Cool. You're not pulling yourself into the bar. So much the same way, we want to pull ourselves into this barbell. So, what we're going to do, get your grip, whatever you want. I like a little bit wider than shoulder width. I actually like to have a pretty narrow overhead press grip. From here, I rotate, so I'm locking down, so the lats are kind of coming out to play. I'm squeezing back here, and then from here, when I get underneath the barbell, so I have it a little bit above when there's weight, settles down like so. I'm relaxing, so just weight right there. And then from here, with the lats, chest puffed up, if I just pull down a little bit, it still feels the exact same. And for a lot of people, you'll notice on the overhead press, when I press, that I have the bar, and then immediately, basically, as soon as I have the barbell, I want to press it up and above. And that's because I think you shouldn't dilly-dally when it comes to the deadlift or the overhead press. Pontificate on life, right? You need maximum acceleration. But at the same time, if you feel weak at the bottom, you should actually instead feel very comfortable. So when you unrack it, this position here, you shouldn't be shitting your brain, right? You shouldn't be here like, like that. And a last tip I would say, for those out there, is that if you try the stacking tip, and you're like, cool, I'm stacked a little bit better, I feel like I can pull down, cool. Try increasing the load, so just do a hold. Weightlifters actually do this all the time, right? What their front rack looks like. So they'll do this to work on a super maximal hold when it comes to the front squat. So they'll come out, so this is, let's say your max is 200 pounds, right? You maybe load up 10% more than that, 220. And when you get underneath and you unrack it, this, once again, should feel stable. If it feels, it might feel obviously a little difficult, right? This is more weight than you've ever done before. But if from here you feel suddenly like you're gonna drop it, that's not for you. That's what's limiting you on the overhead press. And this is all important because one, I think the overhead press is a badass movement. And two, what I would say for most people out there is that it is a fantastic shoulder builder. You know, we got right here, little physique at midnight, weighing just about 180 pounds of twisted steel, and I'll let you finish the rest. But largely, the overhead press is one of those fantastic compound movements that don't get enough love and attention. So if you want to invest into a movement, like on the bench press, on the squat, on the deadlift, you want to become good at it and you want to yield the maximum return. So try out this quick tip for the overhead press. See if it makes a dramatic difference. In the previous video, which seemed honestly to get quite a good amount of feedback, that helped a lot of people out, and we're troubleshooting now what can also improve your overhead press further. Anyways, I got to get out of here. You know, TikTok crew, that's where I'll be. Anyways, we'll talk about that in another video. Stay tuned for another video in a few more days. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, if you liked it, make sure to like the damn video, and I'll see all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Peace. Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.